Worry about nothing. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. And the peace of God, far beyond what we can understand, will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Amen. I'm feeling again. I'm feeling it from the top of my head to my toes. I'm feeling a feeling deep down inside that no one knows. I'm feeling a sigh of relief, now I'm finally over mourning my grief. These negative thoughts have drastically ceased, and I'm feeling again. The pain in my heart has suddenly turned into joy. That's something that all the money you have can buy. It's something that I received, yes, it was surely a gift to me that my Lord and my Savior delivered for free, and I'm feeling again. I thought I was finished, didn't know where I stand, and though it took a minute, I can say with confidence, I'm feeling again. I'm feeling it when I wake up in the morning each day. I'm feeling it when I get down on my knees to pray. It's like I'm a brand new me, God's giving me vision that's 2020, and not just in hindsight but eternity, and I'm feeling again. I'm thankful to know that the storm doesn't last on my life. The rainbow comes after the rain and the peace after strife. It's something you have to believe, it ain't just a promise but a guarantee, so why don't you come take a walk with me, cause I'm feeling again. I no longer have to hold on to what's not even mine. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't, and it's fine. What's meant for you will be, and what's not will be taken away from thee. It's not rejection, it's protection, so keep that in mind. Not everything you want is what you need, and not everyone around wants to see you succeed. But don't take it personal, that's just them. Pray for them the best, God bless, and then get back on your grind. Protect your mind and take off at full speed. I'm feeling again. I'm feeling again. I'm feeling again. Feeling again, feeling again, feeling again. Ooh, walk with me now.
Hey, welcome everybody. Cryptocurrency, or cryptos, is also known as a digital or virtual currency that uses encryption techniques to secure and verify transactions and to control the creation of new units. It operates independently of a central bank or government authority, making it a decentralized form of currency. And crypto transactions are recorded in a public ledger and typically use blockchain technology. Yes, I just read that, probably from AI. That's the answer the AI fed me. And I'm going to leave it to my my guest tonight to determine whether I was correct or incorrect in that statement. And they all have their theories as to what crypto is and what it's good for or not good for. So with me tonight are my friend. Everybody here is a friend here in the TUC community. We have way over here on the far right, Luke for tomorrow, Pauly Hart. Pauly Hart I've known probably for at least 10 years now. He and I go way back. JohnQ Adams, and that blank space over there, as advertised, is hopefully any minute going to be Zen Garcia. He's asking me to email him again the link right now, so I'll probably be working on that so we can get him on. But here to my immediate stage right is Jenna Rose. Oh, look, here he is right now, and boom, there is Zen Garcia. Zen, I'm going to bring you on in just a second. Jenna Rose is my new co-host here, or my anytime co-host at the Unexpected Cosmology. And Jen, I want to ask you to introduce yourself in a 30 seconds, 60-second few, a little paragraph of introduction. But I first want to ask you, do you know what is so special about the show tonight? Any guesses from anybody? You guys are never going to guess it.
No clue.
This is, well, aside from being the first episode of our new show, JC+Y, which is an acronym for Jersey, Coffee, and Yeshua. Of course, whenever JohnQ comes on, it's for cigar, Jersey Cigar, and Yeshua. This is actually the 500th episode on TUC. Now, I need the 500, the big 500. I need to clarify this.
Wow.
That next week it could be the 500th episode again. And what do I mean by that? It's because I've recorded a lot more than 500 episodes, but YouTube just keeps taking them down. So this is 500. It could go down to 495 this week. Who really knows? And we got to work our way back up. But anyways, it's appropriate starting the 500th episode. Jenna, introduce yourself to the TUC audience. How are you doing tonight?
My name is Jenna. I am originally from New York, currently living in Jersey, hence the Jersey Coffee plus Yeshua. Been a part of the TUC community now since I think about like November of 2024. And I'm really just enjoying everything that I'm learning here. And I really got to get some really good friends from this community. I really am learning a lot from Noel. Actually, I'm learning a lot from everybody in here. But yeah, came along here wanting to just seek the truth, because that's what I am, a truth seeker. And so are the rest of the people in here. And Yah has a way of just bringing his kids together. So this is a blessing to be here. I'm happy to be here. That was very nice of Noel to share my song. I've been rapping since I'm 18. I do have some music on Reverb Nation under J.Cali, Cali, if anybody wants to check out any more of the music. And I'm happy to be a co-host tonight, talking about Bitcoin, which I know nothing about.
Awesome. Well, and we hope to have you on many more times, and we'll be sharing a lot more of your music. Jenna came into, as she mentioned, last November, like a rush hour traffic train straight out of Jersey. I mean, just like in the subway station, the wind blowing, in your face, and everybody's loved her. She's been amazing. And usually when people come into the community like that, it's like, watch out, there's trouble. But Jenna has been the best kind of a truth seeker coming into the community. We love her, and we everybody here that you can see on the screen, except for Zen Garcia. Zen, you were not at our TUC retreat this week, but everyone was. We all got to meet each other. Zen, how are you doing tonight? Can you hear us?
I'm good, brother. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. It's a great honor, and I'm glad to be able to join you. Nice to meet you, Jenna, and everybody else.
Nice to meet you, Zen.
Well, Zen, this is also a momentous occasion, aside from being my 500th episode that has remained on, because I don't even know how many I've recorded by this point. This is the first that I've ever had you on. And for the TUC audience out there, I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but I know that there's going to be people out there who doesn't know who Zen Garcia is. They're going to be like, who, Zen, who? Zen is the guy who, like, a lot of the things you're talking about now in the truther community, he was talking about years ago when it was like really taboo to talk about. And Zen, you're one of the most researched guys that I know. Zen was the guy who first gave me the opportunity to come on YouTube. You were the one to first invite me onto your show. That was like, I don't know, it wasn't quite a decade ago, but it was a long time ago. And so it's great to finally have you on here. Zen, I'm going to turn it over to you first. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. What started your journey on crypto, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I got involved with blockchain just by simply, being active on the internet and watching a lot of individuals that are in the alternative truth community. That was one of the subject matters that had come up. And, when people discover, especially with blockchain and all the technology and that could support and resolve a lot of issues, make everything transparent. Well, it seemed, like too good to be true, but in examining it and looking at it and how it works and how everything, every transaction is recorded and preserved, going all throughout the history of, different cryptocurrencies. I think it's really amazing and what it can do, to bring integrity to things like business and even voting, and with what is happening with Doge and how they are making the government more efficient. I think it could be beneficial because in listening to those guys, it seems like a lot of the technology is, decades old, and it is very costly to maintain and to keep individuals and computers and networks all interacting together. There's like many different networks and systems all set up that run congruently but cannot communicate with one another. And so I think that could be a benefit. I also think that at a later time that, with AI and things like Neuralink and other things, that synthesis and, as far as AI and the capacity for it to get out of control or to take on its own will, that could be complicated, and that could be something that could be a challenge to humanity and the world. But I guess we'll see. It's like the internet was initially. It was a revolution, and the capabilities that it gave us. It's a tool, and it can be used for good or bad, and to promote truth or to promote propaganda and disinformation. And so I think AI will be similar to that kind of thing.
I want to point out really quickly here that so far, Jen and Zen, everyone is saying hi to you guys. They're all saying they're glad that Jen is here, and Zen, Lou for tomorrow, Pauly, Hart, and JohnQ, and me. We're not even here right now. We're not noticed. Just good night, everybody. I'll just leave you two on here to talk. But no, thank you, Zen, for that. And I'm going to be I'll jump in, and Jenna, jump in whenever you want to. But
Yeah,
you guys are my crypto guys. So jump in, JohnQ, and let's get this conversation going. Loop for tomorrow, Pauly, Hart. I heard some talk in there about Doge. I know, JohnQ, you were just like, you had that cigar in your mouth, and it just like it fell out. You're like, what? So let's hear it.
Yeah, so I think Matthew, or aka Luke for tomorrow, Pauly, myself, and we probably all have different perspectives on crypto, different perspectives on what the best ones are. Me, myself, and I'm just I'm what you would call in the crypto world a Bitcoin maximalist or a Bitcoin maxi. And that's because I view Bitcoin as the only, as far as what's out there right now, as the only real legitimately decentralized cryptocurrency. It was the very first cryptocurrency. And I don't want to just glaze over the term decentralized. That's something that we need to really focus on. What
good,
is?
because I was going to ask. I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So
Okay.
with Bitcoin, what that means is there's not a single entity or organization or group of stakeholders that can influence or change Bitcoin in any way. It's not printed by some sort of central organization, a central bank. It just is, and there is only ever going to be or ever will be 21 million of these things. So it's a limited asset.
How many do they have right now? There's 21 million currently, or it can get up to 21 million.
21 million have been are the maximum. The 21 millionth Bitcoin will be mined in 2140.
So it didn't get to there yet.
Yeah, currently 94.5% of the Bitcoin has been mined. So the last 5.5% will be mined over the next little less than 120 years.
All right. So John, remember you sent me that little 3-minute cartoon video, which was right up my alley, but I still couldn't get it because I still didn't understand it. What I got from that was basically it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's this cyber type of money that has value, but is bought with currency. It's bought with cash, or it's bought with physical money. And so you have exchange for that, and you receive the cryptocurrency, but I still don't understand what's backing it up if you're still buying it with money, which has nothing backing that up anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like when you buy gold with fiat dollars. And when you're doing that, you're saying, I trust gold to store my value more than I trust this fiat dollar bill to store value. And that's a very smart position to have, because gold over the lifetime of the fiat dollar, gold has increased from, I don't remember what it was when we first switched from the gold standard to the fiat. But as of right now, 1 ounce of gold is $3,100, whereas
Right now.
it used to be like $32, something like that. I can't remember. It's crazy. So the value of the fiat dollar. So if you had purchased an ounce of gold for $32 100 years ago, whatever it was, now that ounce of gold you could exchange it for $3,200. Now, if you purchased took
Sounds like a good retirement plan.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
yeah. The problem is
for all those people on Social Security, they're like Civil War veterans. Perfect retirement plan.
John,
Yeah.
for the uncultured swine such as myself, tell me, what does fiat mean in fiat dollar? What does that mean?
Yeah, so the term fiat is, let's see, we'll just have to look it up, because I'm not sure the exact definition.
Okay. All right. Now I don't feel so bad that I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
No, it's fiat is basically, fiat currency is basically, something money that's just printed, right?
Now you say fiat, I think of the automobile. So
right. It's government.
Right.
It's fiat is government. Fiat money is government issued currency, not backed by anything, not backed by precious metals or any other sort of tangible asset or commodity. It's
so it's government issued and not backed up by nothing.
correct. Yeah.
So then how is it able to be used?
It's the American dollar. That's your fiat.
The American dollar is a fiat. Thank you, Andrew. So it's able to be used because everyone agrees to use it.
Loot for tomorrow.
Well, he told us in private chat that it was going to be Matthew.
Yeah, Noel, get on the page.
Oh. All right. So what is the and Zen, jump in anytime. I'm curious. So JohnQ, you had mentioned that was it like 150 years or something like that? It was like 2140 some. I don't know. It was some number like that. That there's gonna be 5% more that's mined. Why is that? Why have they mined? Why are they holding off on the last 5%, whatever it is, for the next century?
Yeah, basically, the way Bitcoin mining works is every so often, and what's fascinating about it is it's based on Tesla's secret to the universe of 369. When you start looking into it, all the mathematics behind Bitcoin, the code behind Bitcoin, everything that's about Bitcoin, it's all based on 369. So every so often, the number of Bitcoin that is unlocked when your miner, which is basically just a computer that's solving the algorithms to unlock more Bitcoin, the reward for solving those problems every so often, that reward is cut in half. It's called a halving. So originally there was like, I don't know, 50 Bitcoin or so that was unlocked as a reward. Right now it's 3.25 Bitcoin is unlocked when you as a reward when you solve the algorithm. And so it's incrementally being cut in half which is why we've already had 94%, 4.5% of the Bitcoin mined, and why over the next 120 years, the last 5% will be mined.
So you have to
You
solve
get all that,
math.
Jenna?
Yeah, I'm writing this down. So you have to solve a math problem in order to get this currency?
Your essentially, it's an algorithm that
Now you got to work for it.
computers
So you got to
are
pay for it and
working.
work for it. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
To be clear, the computers solve the problem. So
The what?
Bitcoin mining, the computers solve the problem. So Bitcoin mining is streaming up a bunch of computers and gathering their resources in the hopes that your computer will be the one to unlock the mining, the Bitcoin. Because when you unlock that block, then you're rewarded 5.5 Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, yeah,
Thank you.
Bitcoin is worth $83,225. So the reward for Bitcoin for 5.5 of those is a little over 420 grand. It's quite a reward.
Wait, but how much do you have to pay for that?
When you mine Bitcoin, it all depends on how many computers you want to have put together. There's large companies that work exclusively with the electronics to go ahead and hook up massive networks to go ahead and hack this, but it takes a long time, and it's meant to take a long time. That's a little complicated, a little bit beyond me, but that's the basic rundown.
Zen,
right,
it looks like.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jenna. I was gonna say, Zen, it looks like you want to jump in. I saw you turn off your mic.
I was just going to say that I think it's important to bring up that the fiat currency, Federal Reserve notes that's not actually government backed because it's a private institution, foreign entity, a European banking network that's never been audited, and they print the money and loan it at interest to our governments and all the other governments of the world that are utilizing it, but the dollar's only backed by the faith and goodwill of the American people. There's no real assets or commodities or anything of that sort supporting the use of it. And so just realize that, because when the Federal Reserve System was implemented, that's when the elites dramatically secured their power and their ability to fund both sides of war and to push for what is the New World Order. And all that can be found in that letter of Giuseppe Mazzini that was sent by Albert Pike, and the need to foment 3 world wars as a pretext to establish world government.
All right. So do you guys think that the dollar is going to be completely done away with, and that Bitcoin is something that we should absolutely necessarily invest in? And how do you go about buying it or purchasing it?
Good question. Well, Coinbase is the easiest way, and it's been out there and in existence and has had secure funding and custody for a very long time. So I use it, and it's trustworthy, and you can attach it to your bank account, set up KYC, and then you can do withdrawals and purchase Bitcoin and pay a fee, and you can actually purchase many other different cryptocurrencies as well. I recommend, because the adoption of crypto is happening and being pushed now by Trump, with the Bitcoin reserve, and other states and nations are going to get in and try to also set up crypto reserves. The adoption is going to happen fast. And now this year and last year, we had the implementation of Bitcoin ETFs as well as Ethereum ETFs. And so it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, that Wall Street will also gain access to crypto, and they will at that time recommend to their clientele to put 1 to 5% of their wealth into these different assets, just to maintain diversity, because that is the thing that protects them from markets going up and down. They'll buy bonds and other very financial assets that don't move or swing in high volatility like crypto. But if you, like for instance, this past year, going from 16,000 to 108,000, if you missed out on all that move, that's quite a lot of gains to be had. And I still think that crypto has upside. We're currently in a little bit of a downtrend, but with the demand and the limited supply, in my opinion, we can only see further upside. So dollar
Okay.
cost averaging is the way to go, in my opinion.
All right. So for all of us who have no idea, this is like our first time really talking about Bitcoin, asking questions, trying to get some answers. Talk to me like I'm 5 years old. If I wanted to go and purchase Bitcoin, what do I do? Give me step-by-step instructions. Do I go on a website? Do I go to a bank? Do I go
Yeah.
to Wall Street? What am I doing? How do you purchase
Yeah.
it? How do you
You
go
go,
about it?
you take the train, was it the Uptown train to Wall Street? I think it is.
There you
And
go.
that's where you get your Bitcoin. Yeah, go ahead, Zen.
You mean I can't just
Well,
get icicles and cut them into little coins and use kaputniks? Like I feel like this is like imaginary money.
Well, it is digital currency, but there's a lot of benefit to having digital currency. Like, for instance, if you were to wanting to leave the country and take your wealth with you, well, you can't just carry physical gold and silver. You can't
Right.
even take more than $10,000 in cash because they
Right.
can confiscate it from you. And
Right. So
so,
how do you purchase this
but
thing?
if you remember your private keys and set up a wallet where you have two-factor authentication and also use different biometric systems to protect your wealth, you can walk out and just get onto a computer in a network in a different country and then gain access to your wallet and immediately within seconds transfer those funds into a different account and have them swapped out for fiat money if that's what you wish to do. And
Fabulous.
I think, pretty soon we're going to be able to purchase even homes and cars and other things with different basket of cryptocurrencies. Last thing, and then I'll turn it back over to you. With regard to what do you do, just go to the website coinbase.com. You can,
Coinbase.com. Okay.
yeah,
Just if anybody wants to
coinbase.com.
write that down.
And you can attach a bank account. I would set up a completely separate account, one that is not the thing that you use all the time or have direct deposits going into,
Okay.
but leave it uh, just for your crypto investing, and
Yeah.
then put whatever money you want to invest into crypto, and then start the dollar cost averaging. Which dollar cost averaging just means that you buy at a certain period of time, whether it's once a month, once every other week, once a week, whatever. You just buy without worrying about the fluctuations of price. And over time, the average, because 90% of crypto investments in Bitcoin have been in profit. I think that every year it's been 5x, and which is great appreciation. And I think that the adoption will continue, and the demand for it will also continue, and that it will continue driving prices upward. And so, just dollar cost averaging, put once a month, $50, $100, whatever you can afford. But go ahead and start the journey, because at any time there could be a huge upward spike, and people have the fear of missing out. And right now we've had a 20% retraction, and so prices and as far as the technicals, the stochastic relative strength index and other indicators, the fear and greed, that indicator also tells us that we're at the bottom of the market. And so while everybody's selling, this is the time to be buying, in my opinion.
I'm enjoying these billboards you're putting up for tomorrow. Jen, if you have another question, I was going to say, Pauly, you look like you're having a great time over there. What's going on your end of the motionless plane?
Yeah, sorry for getting cut off earlier. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you for posting in the comment section to let you back in. Because otherwise, yeah, I don't think I was going to let you back in. So that
I
was.
mean, I posted 8 times in the private chat in here, and you didn't have that open, I guess. So, I'd like to address the Jenna in the room, because she is my favorite.
New catchphrase. We're going
Love
with
you,
it.
Pauly. The Jenna
Yeah.
in the room. You all caught that? Good.
The gin in the room in the worst cult ever. That's
in
In
the
the
worst
worst.
cult ever. So you said something that I wanted to touch on and just kind of harp on, and then John alluded to it earlier, John Q. Adams, that gold is whatever it is, the spot today. Well,
Yeah.
in 1971, a man named Richard Nixon got on TV and took us off. He made the announcement that he took us off the gold standard. So gold used to be, we used to have our dollar backed by gold. It used to sit underneath gold and say, this is the value of this. It was $44 in 71. $44.71, and today, whatever it is, whatever it's going to be. And so you said it sounds like an imaginary thing. Well, that's the trick. Fiat, which just means fake, unless you're talking about the car. Fiat just means fake, and currency. Current, just like electricity, has to stay in circulation, otherwise it dies. So what we've had since 71, which is the year I was born, so for 54 years now, we've had nothing but faith in this whole thing. So when you're talking about Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies sound like an imaginary thing, well, the truth is that it's trust. Now with fiat currency, we have to trust this group called the Federal Reserve Bank, what Zen was talking about, which is just a group of elitist, nerds. 1913 said, let's take over the world. Let's create the IRS and the Fed at the same time. So there's these guys, and they have this plan, and it is just faith in them, in their system. So when we get 10,000 computers talking to each other, one computer solves the problem that Matthew was talking about, and all the other computers says, yes, you're correct. And we have these computers, because 1 + 1 = 2, and a computer will never lie to you. So these computers are all telling each other the truth, and they're going to lie to you. They're not this evil monopoly, unless, of course, like Zen says, AI takes over them. And we're all kind of like, uh-oh. So you've got this group of computers all over the whole face of the world, and even underneath in some of the mines, the old limestone mines that are like, immune to like radioactivity or neutron bombs or whatever. They're all agreeing that 1 + 1 = 2, or that 3,000 + 3,000 is 6,000. Whatever the problem was to solve to get the reward, that's what they agree on. They're not going to lie to us. So it is still faith, but yet the faith is in indisprovable math, right? So so Zen says gold right now is at 3,107, which is amazing. So if we say that anything is anything, then we have to say nothing is nothing. Let's go back to what you and I were talking about a week ago, if you recall the conversation, and I think maybe John and Luke were there, where a chicken and the blueberry. I've traded you some chickens for my blueberries. Maybe I don't want blueberries. Maybe I don't like blueberries. So we have to go with
that was our conversation.
Yeah, a medium of exchange, which is a yak dung or a pebble. Like penguins actually use pebbles as mediums for brides. They get themselves a nice wife with a shiny rock. That's their deal. But we have evolved since that. Genesis says that there is gold in the land and the gold is good. So it's the 9th thing that Yah mentions in the Bible to be good. That adjective creates with gold, and so we know that gold is good. So because there was a store in Eden and Adam and Eve didn't need gold, God still said it's good. So gold is good. So we take gold, we say this is a very, very good value of exchange, and at 3107 today, and then whatever silver is and whatever platinum, rhodium, all the other PMs, precious metals, we say these are valuable. Now, they stole them all, but that's besides the point. What Matthew is saying, what we are as the people are taking it back into our power, what Zen is saying, that we're taking it back into our power. That way we don't have to rely on these guys who in 1913 on Jekyll Island came up with this crazy, horrible system. Andrew Jackson, he killed the second Bank of the United States. It's called the BUS, the Bank of the United States. On his deathbed, the story goes, he said, I killed the bank. And that was his number one accomplishment. And it's amazing what can be accomplished. I think Napoleon there's a story about Mayor Amschel Rothschild when Napoleon lost the war. The Rothschilds had better careers, and so they got there fast, and they had this huge swindle at the stock exchange. And I'll tell you, Mayor Amschel Rothschild, his children kind of took over the world from there, and he said something very important. He says, "I don't care who makes the rules as long as I can control the price of bread. And whoever controls the price of bread, I say, is true power." So we have to stand on our rock that is Yeshua HaMashiach and say, okay, what do you want me to have? Do you want me to have gold? Sure. Do you want me to have land? Sure. Do you want me to take care of myself, make my own grocery store? Sure. You know, when I say grocery store, I just mean expanded pantry, you know, because that's wealth. Wealth is children. Wealth is sufficiency. So if, like Zen is preaching, if we are actually taking the word and saying a good man or a godly man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, then we have to say, okay, the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. I mean, I don't want the wealth for myself because it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So I'm going to give it all away. I'm going to try to give it all away. Like James said, that we defile not ourselves, that we give to the widow and the orphan. So this is good religion. The only time religion is mentioned in the word is those three things. And two of them are about giving to others. So
Right.
we have wealth so we can distribute to others like a conduit, like the L joint in plumbing. We're not keeping any of it unless maybe the Lord allows us to have a little P or an S trap at the very bottom. Just keep a little bit. Everything else flows out, right? So when we have a stash or a cache or a hoard or a small pocket and put in your pillow, your mattress, in your stock account or whatever asset vehicle you want, we know that he is going to provide. He's going to make it bigger. He's going to make our minds expand to understand it, which is what you're going through right now. You're like having your head opened, and the glory is just coming straight into your mind, which is great. And I wish I was in your shoes. I'm glad that I'm down this path, but it was so wonderful to see because in John, I think the fourth halving was in 2020. Is that correct?
I believe yes.
So I put in $1,000 before the fourth halving, and after the fourth halving,
excuse me, the fourth what?
HALV half, well, HALF half, when it cut in half,
What
when
does
the
that mean?
reward was, when
What's
the
a
BTC,
halving?
well, it's when the reward for solving the problem is cut in half.
Oh.
So there's events like that, which John was saying would eventually it's going to come to a 0 point. When I took my money out, I realized I had made 7,000. So I put in 1,000, made 8,000. Gross of 8,000.
How long?
Like 6 months. It was insane.
Not bad.
And I realized then, and I should have got in when my friends told me to get in 2012, but I'm an idiot. But I'm an early adopter, earlier than some, but not as early as others, which is kind of like what Noel was saying about Zen. Zen is an early adopter of all these, what used to be fringe theological areas, but now are becoming more mainstream. And it's cool when you start thinking outside the box because the Ruach teaches you and guides you and brings all things back to your remembrance. So you just say, okay, what should I do now? Oh, this way? Okay. Look at that thing, Coinbase. Oh, okay. Or whatever. So the more we do know, the more we're able to know, the more we understand what good wealth is versus what bad wealth is, then we are able to discern between the beast system and God's system. That's it.
All right. Another question. Is this more of a currency or an investment or both?
So again, the currency has to stay in circulation. If you and I decided to not take a paycheck, not go to the store, not pay our bills, then the United States dollar, USD currency, would die because everyone would agree that it's valueless. A store of wealth, groceries, gold, guns, gasoline, ground, these 5 Gs, stores of wealth mean that it holds inherent value. If I put my money into the bank and that bank went away, like many have done in the last couple of years, but guess what? That money is now gone. Money, but it's not wealth. If I went to, and I did this, when Biden sworn in, the day he was sworn in, I took $1,000 to Big Lots, the dollar store, and the grocery stores, and I bought beans and cans, undented cans, and I bought a lot of food with $1,000. Spent $1,000 almost to the penny and bought food. Last year, I added it up, and it was about $2,400 worth of food. So I submit to you, if the dollar is devaluing, and my food is inflating in value, what is more valuable, food or money? Money.
Right.
Which
So what I'm
one is
asking
which one is wealth? Yeah, which one is wealth?
Yeah. But can you use this as an exchange, or is this just something that's sitting in an account somewhere in cyberspace? And is it investment? You don't understand? Like,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And you can
Right.
take Bitcoin and you can do what we do. What I'm pretty sure John and Matthew will trade, and Zen trades. I actually do trade. Right now I've got something called a cold wallet. I've got an untold. Oh, you know what? Actually, I lost that all in a tragic boating accident. But I used to have a bunch of Bitcoin sitting in a cold wallet that I bought for a very cheap price, and one day I might sell. I almost sold when it was at 110. It's at 83 or whatever it is today. I almost have, but I'm just keeping it. Why? Just to have it, because I don't know if, like, let's just say I'm building a house and I can't build my house anymore. Maybe I have to sell that just to live. So, does the starving man want food? Yes. Does a freezing to death man want a blanket? Yes. How much will he pay for that blanket? $1 zillion if he had it. That's wealth.
And I would encourage everyone to think of Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, as an asset. Think of it as you bought 10 acres in Manhattan 200 years ago. If you sell that, like when the value goes up, when the value doubles and you sell that, well, you've made some profit, yes, but you have now missed out on generational wealth. Imagine if you held on to that and now your children and their children own that property. That property has increased in value just excrementally. And you don't sell your property in Manhattan. You mortgage against it. You rent it. You do things like that to bring in money. So look at Bitcoin as
I like how you
as,
just brought
as
this
an
back to
asset.
the,
Yeah.
I like how you just brought this back to the Jersey talk, talking about an apartment in Manhattan, something that Jenna can relate to there. But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So think of it, if Bitcoin gets to where a lot of people who are more experts at this than I am, gets to where they think it's going to get to, essentially you become, if you have 1 or 2 Bitcoin, you're going to become your own bank, and you're going to be able to mortgage your Bitcoin against whatever fiat currency, whether it be a digital currency, whether it be the US dollar, wherever maybe you live in, you decide you want to move to Mexico and it's the pesos, whatever it might be, you'll be able to give yourself a loan backed by your own Bitcoin that you then can pay back. And as your Bitcoin increases in value, it will pay itself back. So that's the way to think of Bitcoin. Don't think of it as a currency. Think of it as
an asset.
Property in Manhattan. Yeah.
So we're talking as you mentioned, like generational, right? Like we're talking, you invest in it now and it's going to be worth something for my children.
Yeah. There's only 3%, less than 3% of the world has adopted Bitcoin at this point.
Less than 3%.
Yeah.
Now, you guys tell me correct or incorrect statement. Last winter, I was down in Florida, as I am every year, and we're down the beach. I get to sit around the campfire with a lot of different travelers on their journey, and many were coming down. There was kind of an influx, I thought, this last year of people coming from North Carolina. Makes a lot of sense. North Carolina last year saw one of the worst storms in recorded history. They got flooded out. And one of the statements I heard multiple times from them is that the Bitcoin or crypto was any kind of cryptocurrency was worthless, to them at that time, right? Like all that mattered was having cash or what have you. So would you guys say that is in times of an emergency situation, is that a true statement or an incorrect statement?
It could be. Depends on the situation. Like if, all of a sudden this country was bombed or an EMP, went off or something like that. And the only way you could gain access to your money was to go to some other country and tap into the network. You're not going to be able to really carry anything they did this during the war where people would sew diamond jewels into their luggage or into their clothes in order to carry wealth. But all that was iffy and could cost them their lives, or they would be patted down and it would be confiscated. But you can do that now with setting up a wallet, and as long as you have access to a computer and to a network, you can regain access to your digital currencies. But in any type of emergency situation, it's good to be diversified and to have cash, to have gold, to have silver, to have firearms, to have water, food, medical supplies, whatever you need. Everything in a time of emergency, it has value and can be bartered. And so I think diversifying is the smartest position to assume. And that includes also having access and, tap into digital networks, and especially Bitcoin.
Zan, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I love how you included firearms in currency. Loved it. Okay. Loot for tomorrow. You've been sitting there quietly. And
All
I
right.
wanted, there's some questions I have for you guys, but I'm not jumping in yet because I want to make sure we settle this. Jenna, and if you have any more questions about like the basics of crypto, but Loot for tomorrow, what do you got? What are your thoughts?
So I went on an adventure today. I went ahead and put some money down on Bitcoin and used a ATM. A lot of different ways to actually get your Bitcoin. I have a local gas station. It's really common around here, and there's probably 20 of them in the city. It's like their hometown. Every single one of them, you just go to cashier, pull out your app, and say, hey, I want to download Bitcoin. And there's different apps that work with it. So a lot of ways to get into it. Coinbase is one of many exchanges. Exchanges such as Exodus, Garcia work with different cryptocurrencies, and some exchanges work typically with one, like Firefly working with IOTA, and then XLM working with Lobster. That's an LOBSTR, not with an E. Keep it kosher. So the exchanges, you can transfer your wealth from one exchange to another, give to other people or businesses that have their own wallets on a different exchange. A term that is used with exchanges is a hot wallet. A hot wallet means you can move that money from one person to another, and it's open and available to technically hacking. If people can get into the exchange, you might not be safe. So that's what a cold wallet is used for. A cold wallet will store your assets and only you have access to it. Typically, it's a physical hard copy on a USB drive style or on a different device, and that's how you keep your assets intact. I would like to take an adventure here into the different crypto units that I mentioned with the ISO 20022. You can look it up. I'll post a little something in here. And they are the assets that I have previously mentioned. If you look it up, there's a few more that have joined recently. There's about 7 or 8 of them. So what it is they are regulated by different, they're backed by different precious metals. XLM is backed by silver, XRP is backed by gold, XDC is backed by copper, and then you have Algo, IOTA, HBAR is one of the new ones. You can look up the ISO and you'll find that by searching it in any search engine and just open up and look at assets. The theory on this that gets a little bit controversial is they are tied directly to exchanging from the SWIFT system to the new system. SWIFT is what banks ran off of. So the controversy there is how close are they connected to the CBDC? CBDC is very, very important, not very good. Trump mentioned them, and it's a central banking digital currency. So if it's connected to the central banking digital currency, we want nothing to do with it because the banking is the current system that exists, and the whole point of crypto is to branch off from that. However, Bitcoin, as much as it veers off course from the banking, which makes it so popular and such a good place to go, is not necessarily easy to transfer the other wealth into. The ISO 202 is designed to transfer the dollar and every other denomination of wealth into a currency that works more with it. So with that being said, that's just kind of like bridging the gap from what currently exists to a different form of currency. As far as buying and selling, different websites have different things available for sale, and it works as just a different way of buying things. I like to hodl, which is the crypto language of holding something. You just hodl instead. It was kind of a meme joke, but with that, any extra money that I have, I believe in splitting into 7 and 8. So you got your Bitcoin, your gold, your silver, which I don't got any of that. And then I just use the ISO 2022. That's something I believe in, and that's why I do it. I also want to have it available for people to donate to my cause and what I'm working on in many different forms. And that bypasses a lot of the cryptos. Their specialty is having transactions that are extra quick across overseas, like very, very small incremental amounts that are like pennies on the dollar, like, or not pennies on the dollar, but like you can move like $1,000 for like 13 cents. So the fees are, and it's a lot of times even less than a penny. So I don't want to talk too much more about that without any questions, so I will yield for some time.
Well,
I want
here's
to bring up one thing really
ahead, Zen.
quickly. Just before I forgot, I don't know if you guys saw, and Jenna and ladies in the chat, that the U.S. House passed the stablecoin bill today, and so just 20 hours ago. And so crypto adoption is happening on a mass scale. And for, like somebody mentioned earlier, we're only still, we're ahead of the game. There's only 3 to 5% of the population that even knows what crypto is. It's like being on the forefront. I'm older, so I remember doing day trading when internet stocks were hot, and everybody wanted to be in internet stocks, and because they knew, and speculation was that this was going to change the world. It was going to have a very large impact on the way that we did business at that time. And crypto will have the same effect in many ways, unmeasurable ways, on business, government, medical. I mean, everything with blockchain technology and how it can be verified and how it keeps up with all of its own transactions and the different people that get involved in mining, as well as that you can stake your crypto and receive a percentage back in interest. Like, for instance, if you purchase Ethereum or Solana on Coinbase, they have a feature that is called staking, and you can put that crypto and stake it and earn interest on your money, and you get paid back in the crypto that you are investing in. And so you have the ability to compound interest and to gain wealth as the price of crypto increases. And so there are many different cryptos that provide and pay a different percentage for staking. And so that's another thing that even in the mention of this stablecoin bill, they want to be able to pay interest on these digital currencies, which that is an attraction from all of the other investment tools.
Okay, so here's some of the here's where I'd kind of like to take the conversation. And again, I don't want to, I always hate to disrupt the flow in these things, but Zen, you had mentioned something a little earlier on. Pauly, you'd mentioned something. I want to ask Zen your take on this, because I'm curious, Zen. I'm not exactly sure where you're at with this, and then have JohnQ maybe jump in. But Zen, earlier you had mentioned, of course, the letter of Albert Pike, and then, of course, Pauly, you were talking about Jekyll Island. Of course, I've been there myself, and the Rothschilds, and that you had mentioned when you mentioned the group of the old dudes, like with the canes. I'm imagining in Mary Poppins, and when Dick Van Dyke plays the old guy, and they're all sitting around. But with with Bitcoin, crypto currency in general, there seems to be more of an optimistic view for the future. And so I'm curious, Zen, where you're at on that. What do you think is, I mean, we know what the end goal is, and you can always, refresh our memory as to what the end goal is from the Albert Pikes of the world, but where do you see cryptocurrency going?
Well, I think that there will be mass adoption. And as I said, with this stable currency bill being passed here in America, that's going to force other nations and states to get involved. And it's only been this past year that Wall Street has a tool for them to recommend their clients get into and to purchase crypto and to expose themselves to that as an investment class. So I feel like we're about to run a marathon, and the marathon hasn't even been announced. And the people that know about it are, telling their friends, hey, there's going to be this great marathon. Make sure, you stretch your legs, get your shoes, and get everything ready. And then at this certain time, the marathon's going to be run. But most people have not even heard about it. They don't know anything about it, and they're not even prepared. And a lot of them are scared as well. There's so much people that talk against digital currencies and against the adoption of Bitcoin. And, the Democrats for the last 4 years, Gary Gensler and others, Elizabeth Warren, they have been out to bring crypto down. And of course, yeah, we've had some bad times, FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried and the collapse of that crypto exchange. And there are bad actors, and there needs to be legislation. There needs to be repercussions for bad actors in hacking and stealing crypto, because you can't get away with it. The blockchain has everything, it tracks everything, the wallets that it's sent to, the places that it is removed from and sent and allocated to. All of this is kept up with. And that's the way the U.S. government and regulators, they're able to track down and trace some of these bad actors that have stolen large portions of crypto from different exchanges. But I think with more regulation, more clarity, that, as Trump said, that America could really become a bastion for progress with regard to crypto and the AI and other things. And I think that he really is favorable to these positions. And not only is he favorable, but he's going to ensure with his administration that these things are adopted, and quickly so. And so I think that is going to be a positive benefit for Americans, and especially because, we've had a hard time in this country being able to openly invest in crypto because of KYC, and so many networks like Binance and other exchanges, they have been attacked by the Securities and Exchange Commission in order to keep Americans from being able to invest in these assets. But and so this is a pro-crypto administration. Trump and his cabinet, they are on board, and they are pushing legislation to bring on this mass adoption. So I say get your shoes, tie them, and get ready for the race, because it's going to be a sprint and also a long marathon. And the people that are in now will benefit greatly from doing so.
All right. I have a few questions before anyone, please. All right. So do you have
You
to
ask
just
great questions, Jenna.
Thanks, Zen. By the way, I want to give you credit because I actually found the TUC community through your videos. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I found
I'll say
Noel
that
through
again.
watching you.
Oh, right on. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I did not know. That is
Yeah.
very interesting.
When I was first searching, a couple of different things that was, considered taboo or heretical in the world of Christianity,
They sent you right over to Zen.
right to Zen, and
That's
then
right up our
from
alley
Zen,
right now.
Zen sent me to you, And I was like, oh, this is great. Okay, so
And you were like, who else is heretical? And then you saw me on
Right.
so you just came
like,
right
let
over.
me join this heretical cult. Hooray.
Right.
That's
So,
our Zen, that's our catchphrase over here, that here at TUC we are the worst cult ever. So
ever.
Yeah, right.
worst cult
Known
ever.
to
Go ahead,
man.
Jenna. Ask your question, Jenna.
So, for the Bitcoin, you said to just open up a separate account. Does it matter if it's at a bank, or whether it's with a credit union? Is there a certain online type of account that you're supposed to open up within the Bitcoin community? And then there's two other questions I want to ask, please.
You go
Yeah,
down to
there's
the
all
Tony
of those.
Vito and
There
you
are
talk to him
different
at the pizzeria.
Go ahead, brother.
You'll go down and talk to Uncle Vito at the pizzeria.
Shut up, Pauly.
Yeah, you can open up a bank account at your regular bank, where you do your regular transactions, or you could set up with an online bank. You're just going to link your account, and then they will send 2 transactions to confirm that that bank account you have access to it. And then once they have verified those transactions, then you will be able to purchase initially smaller increments of crypto, but as they learn who you are and gain, you gain trust from them and they gain trust from you, and they know that you're not some kind of thief or a con man or some kind of hacker, then you'll be able to purchase more and more crypto. And it's just a matter of, like anything else, a business relationship. You build up trust, you learn over time, what you can do, and they will trust you with your money and your accounts. And I find them to be, I've used Coinbase for well over a decade now, and I find them to be credible. And,
Right. Okay, so
Yeah.
Lisa just asked a good question too. She said, but then if the banks fail, won't that crypto account be lost as well? So, obviously you're not telling people to get rid of physical cash
Right.
altogether, but just to have this as a backup, as an option, because if that does happen, all that money that you have invested in, like I said, what I call, make-believe money, what do you do with that? If the system
Well,
crashes,
yeah, the crypto is going to be separate from your bank account. You're going to purchase crypto, and it's going to be held in custody on these different exchanges. You can also, as the other gentlemen here have stated, you can move that crypto onto either a cold or a hot wallet, and you can take self custody there. And so you don't have to trust the banks. And the great thing about crypto is you can move your wealth out of reach from them. Like, for instance, if you put anything, any kind of monetary value in a safe deposit box, that can be confiscated at any time by the banks. They can go into, it's not private, it's not safe in any manner. But if you purchase your crypto at Coinbase, for instance, and you get like a cold wallet that you can move it onto, then only you have access to that. And you're going to set up your own private keys, your own password, so that only you know how to gain access to it. And you can store as much or as little as you want on it, and it will preserve your wealth for you.
Okay, so that's if something happens with the banks. But what if something with the grid happens? So what if the grid gets shut down? You have all this money in electronic currency. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The grid would have to be taken down everywhere in the world. That
Okay.
means if we get to the point where internet is not available
Right.
anywhere and you don't have access to computers, you're going to be in a lot worse situation. And that's where diversifying in gold and silver, food, medical supplies, things like that, will cover your back.
Right.
But as far as digital currencies, it may be that you do not have access to them for a period of time until that network is reestablished. But
Okay.
the internet is such an integral part of life and living now. I don't believe it's going to go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I could, Jen, if I could add on to what
Go ahead,
Pauly's
John.
saying and help distill some, or what Zen is saying to help distill some confusion. So I think one of the things that Zen had said, or maybe he didn't say this, but it would be something I would recommend, is set up a separate bank account to to use to purchase your crypto. So
Okay.
I do that just for budgetary purposes. I have a checking account that it's nicknamed as food budget, and I put in out of my paycheck, my direct deposit, X percentage goes into that just for food budget, and then I have another one for bill pay. It just helps me. It helps me budget. So you set up another bank account for money that you want to put into crypto. That way, let's say worst case scenario, you have and when you buy crypto, when you buy any asset and you invest in anything, you can only invest money that you are willing to completely lose, because that's the risk of any investment. So
Right.
if you set up a separate checking account with a separate bank or whatever it is might be, worst case scenario, if you are buying crypto from some fraudulent organization, which if you go with Coinbase, or there's been others that have been mentioned that are confirmed not fraudulent, you don't have that risk. But let's say you do. Let's say you went down to DeVito's Pizzeria and talked to Uncle Don, right?
Uncle Don.
And you linked your checking account with his shady crypto app. If you've linked your primary checking account, or the only checking account you have, perhaps he could take all that. Whereas if you're linking just an account you set up specifically to buy crypto, worst case, you lose all the money that you're willing to lose.
Okay. And someone commented on here, Jason Dress. John, maybe if you want to take this, if you know about it. He said, talk about self-custody. What's that?
So yeah, Zen was just mentioning that. So self-custody is, and this is one of the things that's extremely biblical about crypto and about Bitcoin, is self-custody is you are taking on the responsibility of holding that asset onto yourself. It's essentially a cold wallet, or it could be a hot wallet, but essentially a wallet that you own, as opposed to keeping your cryptocurrencies on an exchange. So keep in mind there's risk rewards to keep putting your crypto on an exchange. The one of the risks is that whenever let's say the federal government goes completely woke and decides that if you have certain ideologies, then they need to confiscate all of your assets. Well, if your cryptocurrency is on an exchange, that is confiscatable. So anytime you've heard about people's cryptos being confiscated by the federal government, it's because it was on an exchange. If you store that currency in a hard wallet that only the 12-word passphrase to, you should memorize it. They can't confiscate that crypto unless you give them the 12-word passphrase. So that's what self-custody means. Now, the risk of self-custody is if you forget your passcode, it's all gone. Nobody's going to get it back.
Wow, you can't recover that.
No.
Huh. So there's no forget password button so you can get a new one?
Nope. Because that's hackable very easily.
Huh. All right. And my friend Sue Siren asked a question too. Hi, Smushy. She said she's on the Coinbase website, and she said that there's hundreds of cryptocurrency listed. How does she know which one to choose?
Yeah. So me personally, I would recommend, and now I'm not a financial advisor. Matthew put that in there before. I am not a financial advisor either, but I'm telling you, just
this is for entertainment purposes.
Absolutely.
I would, if it were me, I would purchase Bitcoin.
Okay.
Bitcoin is the only digital asset that the United States has officially adopted a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They have other cryptos, but what they're actually in the executive order that Trump signed, if you read into it, the other assets that they have seized, they're actually going to be selling those in order to buy more Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only asset that the United States says they are not selling it, and I would recommend, like I said before earlier, I would recommend everyone never sell your Bitcoin. So think of Bitcoin, like I said, think of Bitcoin as digital gold. Think of it as digital gold. So that's, and I can get into a little bit why it's digital gold, but if you're in doubt, when in doubt, I would say buy Bitcoin. And then you can start researching other ones too, and kind of learning the difference between them. You know, why are these ones different? But I would say, yeah, when in doubt, buy Bitcoin.
Then it looked like, and I think, was it Pauly, you wanted to address Lisa's point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of want to take Lisa and maybe Jenna on a tiny journey, if it's okay, to get to a very, very important factoid. Is that all right?
Take us, Pauly. Take us.
All right. You're in a hot air balloon and you look down. All around you see land. No, this is important. Land is a class. It is an asset class. On the land, you can grow rabbits. You can build a store. You can harvest the trees. You can mine for gold. You can do whatever. You can do all sorts of stuff. So then you have on the land, that's real estate. That's the first asset class. Then you have the commodity, gold, silver, rhodium, all these things. Then from that, you can build a company. And on the company, you can sell the things that you are mining for or growing. And then from there, you can create a public company, which you trade on the stock market. So these are 4 asset classes already: the land, the commodity, the company, and then you have the paper asset. Then you have a government involved, and they want to create bonds and treasuries and all. Just go away. All right, we're going to ignore them for a minute. Now you have on the same land, you have a computer. You have 10 computers. You have 1,000 computers all talking to each other. That's the next asset class called the blockchain, which is a digital currency, which is maybe Bitcoin. So 2008, this guy named Satoshi Nakamura comes along and says, I'm going to make this thing. And he makes a thing. And he creates this thing called Bitcoin. And it's interesting and it's neat and it's unique and no one's ever done it before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, Lisa. 5, Jenna. There are 5 asset classes for all sakes and purposes, just as a roundabout way. So when you are doing like Zen does, he does dollar cost averaging, DCA. He buys a little bit of all of them all the time. And when 2 go down, 2 go up. When 1 goes really hard down, 3 go really hard up. And the trend is your friend. So at any point in time, every time something is going down, like the housing market's crashing, guess what? That's a great time to buy. It's a great time to buy winter wheat or pork bellies or silver or rhodium or land or farming land. Agricultural farming land is some of the best investment right now because guess what? Everybody needs to eat. So when Bitcoin crashes, it's a great time to buy real estate. When real estate crashes, it's a great time to buy oak or SPF, which is spruce pine fir. So every single thing in the world is part of one of those 5 asset classes typically. It can be a really weird ETF that's connected to this, connected to that. It can get complicated. Just like all of anything on any ledger can get complicated. When I say ledger, I mean that's correct, John. John is correct. Every time everybody else, when 99% of the people panic, 1% of the people say, hey, that's a good time to buy. And it typically is. So
Pauly,
if you're looking.
Wait, Pauly,
this is not financial advice. This is no
entertainment purposes only.
Oh, are we live on the air? Oh, I was talking to me.
Wait, so
go ahead. Ask your question, Jenna.
How do you know when the Bitcoin crashes? Is there like a market that you're watching, or how do you know when it crashes?
You talk to John.
You talk to JohnQ. Everyone write that down. Everyone write that down.
But John is not a financial advisor, nor does he play one on TV. As a matter of fact, that's not even John.
I did not even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
That's right. So as you see, you guys have your real names. Even Pauly's a moniker. That's not my real name. Lou Formaro, JohnQ Adams. So these are not our real names. But if you ask us what to do, we'll tell you as friends what we do. And then if you would like to follow us in our, that's why I watch people like George Gammon on YouTube. He'll tell you what's going on. And that he says, this is not a prediction. This is only an assessment. So everything I say is an assessment. In 2003, I was involved in a digital currency called EvoCash. And any old school guys out there might have heard of EvoCash. And it was pretty interesting. We were going, it was still considered Forex trading back then. And through a Forex, we would have to go through Gibraltar to purchase monies in the digital world. And it was like, what's this digital asset? Wow, this is interesting. So I lost $77,000, me and a friend, lost a lot of money. And I said, I'm never doing digital currency again. So every single time somebody tries something new, something fails, i.e., insert GIF, BitConnect, which is an old school know your meme. So BitConnect was a Ponzi scheme, so was EvoCash, and a lot of these things out there are. I lost a lot of money in a company just like Coinbase called Celsius. Then I lost even more money in a company called Voyager. And I lost money in both these companies. Oh, yeah. But, hey, I got my check. I got a tiny bit back. I got about 17% of my initial back. But that's okay. But at the same time, you gotta know what you're doing. So there's 3 levels. There's gambling, there's speculation, and there's investment. So I think Zen is an investor. I think John's an investor. I think Lute's an investor. I'm a speculator still. I DCA, I dollar cost average in a lot of things. Just like when I lost all my Bitcoin in that tragic boating accident, I lost all my silver, my palladium, my rhodium, my iridium. I lost it all. It's all gone. However, when I was buying silver, I bought it at 14 and sold it at 28. I took my wife to the store, to the guy who bought the silver. I said, we have $100 that we purchased silver. He gave us $200 back. I gave her the initial $100, and I took the excess. I said, there you go, baby. Do you believe me now? And she's like, yeah, I get it. So since that time, we've been investing. That's it.
Zen, I saw you you put on your mic, you turned it off, you put it back on. I wanted to try to nab you in here. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I did really quickly. Jenna had asked a really good question for people that don't know what to invest in. And when you go to Coinbase, you have so many different options. I try to stay with the OGs, those that have been tried, tested, and true over a lot of time. And I am also a Bitcoin maximalist, but I do dip into other infrastructure projects like Solana, Cardano, Ethereum, and other big blockchains. But I don't like to get into speculative assets. And certainly, I am not a meme coin supporter or purchaser. I think that if you stick with the, what would be like the Dow Jones top 20, that you'll be fine. But for those that don't know and may be interested in getting into this asset class, just stick with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. You'll be fine. Because with Bitcoin, mass adoption is happening in that crypto. With Solana and Ethereum, you can stake them on Coinbase and make 4 to 10% on your money and get paid out in compounding interest in that particular coin. And so the interest you get paid will continue to increase in value and just increase your wealth that much more.
Okay.
Yeah, and Lisa had a question, so Bitcoin is speculative for the most part. No, Bitcoin is proven at this time. At this point, it's been proven. So I think it's been, year over year, it's a 65% return, I think is what it is. Somebody can correct me on that. Bitcoin has now been essentially, backed or acknowledged by, not only the U.S. government, but El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin, and many others, and many large, financial institutions, or I should say companies such as Michael Saylor's company just changed its name recently. The name just changed recently, but have been using Bitcoin to create wealth for their businesses. So I would say Bitcoin is not speculative. Bitcoin is a good investment. And some of the, one of the things that I said this at the beginning, and I want to kind of circle back to that about how Bitcoin is completely decentralized. It's the only one that is. It's the only one that was put out by an anonymous user. His name is Satoshi Nakamoto. Still to this day, no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. There has been many theories about who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but no one knows who it is. Satoshi Nakamoto released an open source the Bitcoin protocol. He released it. It's open source. He released it on January 3rd, I think, 2009, if I remember correctly. And interestingly enough, shortly after that, a few days after that, on January 9th, 2009, the U.S. government put out a guide entitled U.S. Government Counterinsurgency Guide. And in that counterinsurgency guide, it abbreviated, or it made the acronym out of counterinsurgency. The acronym for counterinsurgency is COIN. And it says counterinsurgency is the blend of comprehensive civilian and military efforts designed to simultaneously contain insurgency and address its root causes. So if we think about that, you know, the U.S. government has been our government. We the people have experienced an insurgency from the central bank and cartels and the fiat system. We have experienced an insurgency, and so now how do you implement a counterinsurgency against that insurgency? And so this counterinsurgency guide goes on to say that unlike conventional warfare, non-military means are often the most effective elements, with military forces playing an enabling role. Okay, so what's interesting about that is every single thing that made Bitcoin possible was created by the United States military or for the United States military by a contractor. TCP/IP, which is the internet, essentially was created by DARPA. C++ was created by Bell Labs. SHA-256, which is encryption, is created by the NSA. The Tor browser was created by the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. GPS, which is used for timestamping, was created by the Department of Defense. So all those things had to be created in order for Bitcoin to exist. So if you think about what Bitcoin is, and you take that in context with this counterinsurgency guide, and you realize that no one knows who released this, and you see that the U.S. government's counterinsurgency guide essentially defines counterinsurgency as COIN, COIN, and says that it's a, it's unlike conventional warfare. Non-military means are often the most effective elements of a counterinsurgency. Then it's not a leap of faith to see that Bitcoin is the digital counterinsurgency to the central banking cartel insurgency that we've experienced.
So wouldn't it be better to just buy silver or gold?
If I'm not going to stop anyone from buying silver or gold.
So I can
I meant more beneficial, like to have that physically and on hand. But I guess what you're saying is it's not very easy to carry it if, God forbid, you have to,
Right. We're
So
going
that's
into we're going to the digital age,
complicated.
and silver and gold just isn't.
So yeah, you can still make money in agriculture, right? You can still make money as a farmer, but the agrarian age is kind of like over there, right? So we have put our speed with technology and compounded speed of technology making money is so faster now. It's so much easier to make money. Like Kyle just said, hey, you can still mine off your phone. You can mine off your phone right now. So you can still make money as a farmer. You can still make money as a gold miner. You can still make money this way, but it's faster to do it something else. So I still believe in having a store of value in gold, in groceries, guns, gas, and ground, all the 5 Gs, that's me. But I also have a store of value in other asset classes. but yeah, and like you can be a speculator in every market. You can be a gambler in every market. You can be an investor in every market. So speculation is the type of person that you're doing. How much knowledge you have, what time you're going in, and when you get out. Like everyone says, buy low, sell high, but who actually does that?
Right.
Hardly anybody. So
Now,
Lisa wants to know what's backing it.
that's a good question.
Bitcoin is backed by electricity.
Just like my fridge.
So the proof of work concept, proof of work is very important inside of Bitcoin's smart contract that runs it. I'm assuming they run on a smart contract. Maybe that's just a term that came after that. But from my understanding is because it's all in the code, this is how it works. Nobody can hack the code. It just is. And that's how all smart contracts are put together. Any cryptocurrency can be built on any smart contract that cannot be hackable. It just is. And that's how you get rid of the corruption. You just can't hack it. Maybe you can. I don't know. That's just my limited understanding. So it's, yeah, backed by electricity. Lovely.
Now we're coming up on the last, the second hour, and I like to end these at 2 hours. But then there was something. It looks like you want to jump in. I want to have you come back in, but I liked where this was going, where JohnQ started talking about the counterinsurgency, and I'm going to ask Zen to jump in because you turn on your mic again, and we're going to return to that thought. Zen, what did you have?
I was just going to mention that, yes, we should be diversified. With regard to gold and silver, historically, it's not a problem as far as investing in it, but holding it, retaining it. Governments have confiscated it. Conquerors have stolen it from the masses, depleted, populaces of their wealth, their value, just like, with the Nazi concentration camps, how they sent all of these individuals into whoever were the dissidents against that political system. They brought their baggage and they rifled through everything. They confiscated everything that was of value to them and sent them without their possessions. And so, yes, I think you should be diversified in gold and silver and other asset classes, but definitely include crypto as part of your portfolio, in my opinion.
So, yeah, rounding out the last 30 minutes tonight, I would be really interested to see, and I had brought this up earlier, where you guys see this going presently and in the near future. I think, Zen, you would mention Warren Buffett. I think just really passing really quickly that if I understood you right, that you said that he was trying to stop crypto. So who are the people that are trying to stop this from happening? And I would be curious if the U.S. dollar, crashed, for example, what's coming next?
Good question.
Well, I definitely think that the Federal Reserve System is going to be an opponent of this because right now they print the money and load it at interest. And certainly they do not want to give up that control. And so just like with how those that were, against the central banks, I don't know if you know about this, but the sinking of the Titanic also took out the opponents of a central bank here in America, Guggenheim and Astor and other individuals that were very wealthy and which were fighting and combating, like Andrew Jackson, the establishment of a central bank here in America. They were taken out, and that's part of a conspiracy story that most people don't know about. And so certainly the powers that be, they want to be in control of all asset classes, and they do use their wealth to manipulate those markets. The awesome thing about Bitcoin is because it is decentralized, the blockchain runs on everybody's computer, and you would have to take out everybody in order to control this asset class. And that, I believe, is an impossibility unless there's something major going on that, would put us all at risk anyways. But I definitely think that Bitcoin is going to be incorporated and adopted and that players like Trump, and I didn't talk about Warren Buffett. I had mentioned Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, you mentioned Pocahontas. All right.
Yeah. She's the senator that has been fighting against crypto adoption for a very, very long time.
I got the Warren right, but I wasn't thinking about
Yeah,
Pocahontas at the
right.
time. All right.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I think the big difference between cryptos and stock exchanges, because the price is going to go up and it's going to go down, but there's one major difference. Cryptos are not controlled as much, per se, by the banking system. The stock markets, I mean, you look into the places that run every company, how they're intertwined with one another. There's no way that there's not insider trading going on, like throughout the whole system. You got the whales that are making huge purchases, etc., within the stock exchanges. The big difference is who is the president that is going to be willing to say, I'll let the economy die on my watch to build another economy. I believe Trump has the guts to do it, because every politician puts themselves in a position where we'll go ahead and we'll change things. We're not, and then they just raise the roof of the ceiling of how much we can have in debt. And so I believe, and there's prophecy to like say this, whatever that's worth, that the economy is going to crash completely to nothing, and then what's left? So if the dollar goes to nothing, because the dollar has to, it comes to an end, like it goes to a top. This is how the system is built. Like it has to crash. They know this, and no politician wants it to crash on their watch. And I believe Trump's going to let it crash on his watch because that's the right thing to do. So it's going to go down to nothing. So do you want to have anything besides the dollar? Well, I don't think it's very feasible to be carrying on a lot of silver and gold necessarily. I think it's easier to go about this route. It's the technological route. So that's my mini preaching into why to go about doing this. Is Trump going to let the dollar go down to zero? So tiny bit political, but nonetheless, that's my angle and what I like to go with. So
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Pauly.
Just about the United States dollar and where it came from, but the idea of what our backing, they call it the U.S. dollar. It's nothing. The Federal Reserve Bank, it's not federal. They have no reserves, and it's not really even a bank. So let's just say I loaned Matthew right here $1. And I said, I'm going to give you this dollar to go spend down in his economy, in John's economy. Now, John is the USA, which is the United States of America, which is a loose, independent collection of 50 sovereign nations that got together. They hired Loot for Tomorrow, the US, to give him money. So I'm the Fed. I give him $1. Now, Matthew, am I pointing the right way? Matthew, I'd like you to give me back $1.01. And so I say, he needs to give me back $1.01, but he lends it to him and he says, give me back $1.02. And then that guy tells me, hey, I got 50 cents. And so I say, that's fine. Now you owe me, you still owe me 54 cents because of interest. And so this cycle keeps going around and around and around. Well, with the invention of the very first $1 bill, a whole dollar, going back, it's impossible to pay this thing off. It is impossible because the money that we printed is not enough for the interest that we are accruing. Does that make any sense? Like if I gave you $1, Jenna, and I said, give me back $1.01, and that's the only dollar that was ever made, you couldn't, because the extra penny didn't exist, couldn't have existed, right. Doesn't exist. If I printed another dollar, it says, oh, here's some more. Now you owe me $2.02, but only $2 are in existence. So it's impossible to pay that off. Now you can't even pay the interest on that. So that's a deficit upon that interest. So that whole thing, it comes crashing down. And what Matthew is talking about when he's talking about helicopter money, which is a really great thing to look at. But the biggest reason that $1 can create $800 is when one bank lends to another bank, lends back to this bank, lends back to that bank. So there's a law they passed called fractional reserve lending, which will blow your mind. If I loaned Matthew $1, Noel just decided that he'd had enough of me. If I loaned Matthew $1 and said, okay, you know what? You can loan John $10 because just like Lisa was saying, she can go to the bank and she's going to get her money back immediately, right? But no one does that. It's called a bank run, and it's very rare. It doesn't happen. So then John loans you from that $10, he can loan you 10x on that, which is $100. I've printed $1. Now you have $100. That's called fractional reserve lending. Now Jenna loans it to Zen. Zen loans it to Noel. We now have 1,000, and we have 10,000. It's insanity. And then guess what? Noel says, hey, I'm going to pay you back $1. So then I write on my account, his IOU has been paid. He writes down on his asset sheet that he has now paid that off and on his negative balance. So then, but only $1 has been created, but yeah, there's $10,000 in circulation. How is that even possible? So with a blockchain to create a ledger for a digital cryptocurrency, one computer says, hey, there's only $1. The other computer says, hey, that's correct. There's only $1. Only $1. So let's say John writes a computer program. He's going to hack the Bitcoin system. He writes it. He says, you have $5. 10,000 computers talk to each other. They all say, no, it's just $1. He's trying to hack. He gets booted off the whole blockchain. He's gone. He gets nixed. His computer melts, just melts. And as Zen was saying, let's just say the whole top of the whole Earth gets nuked. Again, there's still computers running on deep cell batteries that are still doing the blockchain in underground bunkers and mines that are still saying the blockchain's still running. The blockchain's still running. So when I say only God can kill the blockchain, I really mean it. Mankind does not have that power anymore. We did in 2021, but I think it's gone. We cannot kill the blockchain. And if he's talking about the technological singularity, if that ever happens, the mark of the beast ever happens, like what the Christians call the mark of the beast, no, I don't want to tread on your words, but if they think that whole thing is going to come through and the false prophet arises, it's going to have to be a digital false prophet, and it's going to be on the block. And the whole world, just like the prophecy says, will see. And it doesn't have to be with our eyes, but I think it could be seen through the blockchain that the false prophet created a miracle. And I don't know. It's there. It's crazy. It's big and it's weird. But at the same time, the more you understand, the more you realize you don't know a thing. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. But you want to climb that mountain and go down that road to get to the point where I can say KYC and everybody knows what I'm talking about. I can say the Fed. I can say, dollar cost average, DCA. I can just say DCA and the whole room knows what we're talking about. And so the speed of our intellect becomes quicker through conversation. So the speed of our learning power becomes quicker as well.
The more I've been listening to you guys tonight, the more I realize I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get back to what John was saying before about how when you have a home, you want to hold on to it and you want to leave it to your children, let your children leave it to their children's children, and so on and so forth. And I understand that, right? We're supposed to leave like an inheritance to our kids. But with a home, you can borrow against it. You can refinance, right? You could take a loan out on it. You could actually use that equity that you have in the home and utilize that money to make purchases. Can you do the same thing with Bitcoin? Can you, if you're just going to save this as assets, can you borrow against it or you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Oh, you can.
Yes.
How do you go
All
about doing
that
it?
is being established. With more mass adoption, there will be more of that happening. But yes, Michael Saylor does that on a mass scale all the time.
And now, does he
uses
just
the
borrow more
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, or does he borrow so
No,
he
he
can get
borrows
cash?
fiat money against his Bitcoin and then purchases more Bitcoin.
He borrows fiat, you're saying, and then
Yeah.
purchases. Okay. But he borrows it against his Bitcoin, you're saying?
Yes.
So here's how he does it.
Tell me, John.
He buys, let's say he buys $1 million worth of Bitcoin
Mm-hmm.
and puts that Bitcoin on his company's asset sheets.
Okay.
Let's say Bitcoin. First of all, that in and of itself, there's an asset on your company's ledger. Bitcoin. Let's say Bitcoin goes up by 50%. Okay. Now his company's value has gone up by 50% of that Bitcoin that he had on his asset sheet. He takes that value and he goes to the bank and says, hey, I've got this value here. I want to borrow against this value. The bank, who can't help themselves but say yes. I mean, they literally could not help themselves. That's how they make their living, is by lending. But every time they lend him money, he then takes that money and he goes and buys Bitcoin or more Bitcoin. When he buys more Bitcoin, that increases the demand for Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up. So what he's doing is he's exchanging fiat dollars for a hard asset for Bitcoin, and the banks can't help themselves but lend that Bitcoin, and they're participating in their own demise.
The banks lend, you say?
They're lending that fiat dollar. They're lending him the fiat dollar for him to then go and buy Bitcoin with it. So it's like if you take your credit card and you say, "I'm going to go buy Bitcoin with my credit card," and then
So he can only buy
then-
Bitcoin, no, but he can't use it to do personal things, like to maybe fix his roof on his house or to go on a vacation or whatever.
he absolutely could. He could take out a loan against that Bitcoin and use it to go on vacation.
Oh, okay. So it's not just to purchase more Bitcoin. Okay.
No, but it's the smart thing is to purchase more Bitcoin with it, because it goes up. As it goes up, he's basically creating free money for himself. Because as the
So
Bitcoin
you're
goes
using
up,
the Bitcoin as your collateral.
yes,
Yes.
All right.
yeah, exactly, Matt. The value is in its scarcity. There can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. There will be less as people lose their keys, or there's been projects where people have burned Bitcoin, put Bitcoin into a burn wallet to sort of back a token or an asset, something else that they've tokenized by burning that Bitcoin, so that Bitcoin is locked away in a burn wallet now. Everyone can see that burn wallet, so they can confirm that that's the case. So as people say lose their keys and they can't access their Bitcoin, or they burn it to create some sort of digital token or what have you, there's even less Bitcoin. So, I mean, there's already been stuff that's been lost forever and burned. So, all that means is the value of everyone else's Bitcoin goes up.
Here's my one question of the night. Since obviously they keep printing money and just printing and printing money, and the claim is that they can't, as you put here, Pauly, that they can't make more Bitcoin. What is the assurance of that? Like say 50 years from now, what is the assurance that they cannot print more?
You would have
The
to get
blockchain.
the blockchain. Thanks, Zen. You would have to get every single person who is on the network to agree to do the very thing that got them off of the fiat network onto the Bitcoin network. You'd have to get them to agree to do that.
Yeah, I know I've asked you that before, JohnQ. I wanted to ask that again just to make sure for everyone listening out there. I've just lost my co-host, and she's been asking great questions, and I'm so glad I had her tonight. I hope she comes back many more times. We're closing up here the last 10 minutes of this tonight. So Zen, JohnQ, Loot for Tomorrow, Pauly, Hart, let's get your last thoughts in. We'll just kind of go full round circle here, starting up with Loot for Tomorrow. How do you want to end this tonight? What are the last thoughts you want to throw out there based on everything that was said?
Go ahead.
I want to
brother.
end with the honesty of it's not that easy to go ahead and to get into crypto exchanges. It takes a long time to go and enter your information for know your customer, the KYC. It's a process. I just used a Bitcoin ATM. It took about 4 hours for the money to go through. I'm like, wait, I just put that money in. So I mean, that might be a rare exception, etc. So there are frustrations that you will come to going through this process. If you decide to go through that, it's worth it. The exchange rate going up and down, all of that can be bypassed by if the dollar crashes to nothing, which I'm assuming there's enough evidence to say that it can. It needs to. The people who know the banking system know that it's not sustainable. It will crash sometime. And it's a politician that decides that it's the right thing to do, then they're going to pull the plug. And to me, that's Trump. So I'll end on that note, and that's all I want to say. Split your asses to 7 a.m. to 8, and so I'm more of a diversified person. But with that being said, there are challenges. It's worth it.
Pauly, handing over to you. What are your final thoughts for the night?
All your kids are crazy. So I, at one time, I went on Coinbase and I said, all right, I'm going to buy $5 of every crypto. And that was stupid. But One of them actually did very well. I made about 60 times, so that's 6,000%. And several other of them just stayed right there, and then only maybe 10 of them went downhill, and then just went away altogether, just like gone. And then Coinbase kind of straightened up and flew right. Or was I on Binance at the time? I might have been on a different platform. Anyway, I went on a place and I bought a bunch, and I thought that was the smartest thing to do. I put about 10,000 into it, and that was cool and that was interesting, and I was really into it. And then I started getting really fearful. Maybe I missed something, and I found out a term. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out. And I realized one big thing, that the trend is your friend, and you don't have to put your energy into worry. Worry not for yourself, for I worry over you, a wise Messiah once said. I guess he's the only one I have. And he worries over us. Look at the lilies of the fields. They don't toil, nor do they spin. But yet your Heavenly Father adorns you so much more than these.
Amen.
And so, yeah, exactly, right? So my fear went away. I decided that today is a good day to live. And if I see the news and choose to invest after the news, it's probably going to be too late. So I just need to DYOR, do your own research, DYOR. So I have some alerts on my email account that pop in. Hey, this is moving up. Hey, this is moving down. But I only got a couple. I don't follow everything. But at the same time, I'm also following real estate. I am also following precious metals. I'm also following different types of precious metals, because I can put a lot of interest in silver and palladium, which are industrial precious metals. I can put a lot of interest in copper and gold, which are high conductivity precious metals that work in industry, but also are used for jewelry. So I can do a lot of research, but you know what? I'm just going to buy it and put it down. And that's going to be right there over there. It's going to sit there. I'm just going to look at it and say, I'm glad I have that. Just like I'm glad I bought $1,000 in groceries when good old Joe Biden was the day of his inauguration. And today it's worth 2.5 times that. So amazing. Hallelujah. And just keep on keeping on. Grow and know. And then the more you know, the more you grow.
Thank you, Pauly. Zen, based on everything that was said tonight, what are your final thoughts?
Again, I believe Bitcoin is a store of value, and that it has many people that are adopting it now, and the use of cryptocurrencies will just accelerate as we move further into the future, and that Bitcoin will lead the way, but that there will be other use cases for other blockchain technology like Solana. That's a very fast network, and if you are interested, it's like, in my opinion, it's like being able to buy Apple stock when it first came out, or Amazon, or the different internet stocks like America Online back in the day. And so we're ahead of the game. And I also think that if you apply yourself to studying and learning about the technicals, that you can get an idea for how the trend is going to go based on momentum and based on panic in the streets, and the supply and demand of crypto at any given time. And currently, mass adoption is happening all across the world. Trump is a pro crypto administration. They've already passed the Stablecoins Act. They are setting up a Bitcoin crypto reserve. There's already ETFs for Wall Street to get into and to be able to allocate a certain percentage of their wealth to the cryptocurrency markets. Right now, the entire crypto market is only like $2 trillion, 2.6 trillion or something of that nature. Gold is like $15 trillion. It's a large asset class. And in comparison, it shows you that crypto is still relatively small. It's a 24-hour market, and the whole world is on the same exchange as far as being able to buy and sell. They use different networks in their country, but it's all the same market. And so it's not as easy. Of course, the whales can manipulate and create momentum, but learning the technicals and studying the indicators like just the stochastic RSI or the relative strength index or using the fear and greed index, just things like that will let you know when we are overbought and oversold. And there's also bots that you can get into which take all the emotion out of trading. And you can just set it up to when the RSI is below 20, that is historically the best time to get into crypto. And when it's over 80, that's the time you want to sell. So you can study and get into something like that. But learning the indicators, it will help you to get ahead of those that are just now getting into the markets.
Thank you, Zen, and thank you for joining us tonight. JohnQ, it's your turn. And, I want to thank everybody, in a 2-hour talk like this, there's 4 of you, of course, not including Jenna and myself. And so that gives you guys like 30 minutes of dialogue each. And thank you all for your patience as I'm trying to get everybody out here on the floor. JohnQ, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, this has been amazing, amazing discussion. I don't think we might need to do maybe a part 2 or something just on this, because we didn't really get into one of the 3 topics. We had bullion, we got into to gold, we talked about gold and silver. Bitcoin, we definitely talked about that, but we didn't really talk about the Bible and how this ties in with the Torah. Humanism seeks to centralize power. The Torah specifically does not permit powerful state or powerful church. The Torah is a pro-decentralization document. And so when you realize that, and you realize that Bitcoin is completely decentralized, that there is not one entity or one government or one bank that controls it. It's completely decentralized. You realize that there's perhaps a greater power. Aslan is on the move, to borrow the phrase from C.S. Lewis. So and just a lot of people, some of the knee-jerk reaction to the statement that the Bible is a pro-decentralization book is to say, but there was only one central tabernacle or temple for sacrifices. That's not, the sacrifices weren't the main central focus of the Torah. In Deuteronomy, the covenant between Yahweh and Israel, it's maintained by Israel's loyalty to Yahweh's laws. Worship at the temple only plays a supporting role. Who plays the main role in keeping the commands? Each individual household, right? So while the commandments of Deuteronomy hardly deal with sacrifice at all, but rather it's with the day-to-day actions done at home. The Holy Spirit empowers individuals to govern themselves, reducing the reliance on institutions. So true community emerges from obedience to Yah's law, not top-down control. So, and I would add to that, it's only through the work of the Holy Spirit that we can even have a heart that seeks to obey His law. And another example of decentralization in the Torah is at the Tower of Babel. Yah confused the languages. It's an example of, I would say, a reset that results in decentralization. And perhaps we're going through that now. Perhaps we're going through a reset that's resulting in decentralization. The symbolic purpose of that tower was an attempt by fallen man to unify all of creation under a centralized governmental and religious system. Let's make a name for ourselves. I think that's in Genesis 11. So, and according to Francis Schaeffer in the book Genesis in Space and Time, the Tower of Babel was the first public declaration of humanism. And I think, we've seen another public declaration of humanism in the central banking cartel, in the one world, New World Order, and the deep state it's been exposed, has been entrenched in every single government around the world, right? So I think we're going through a reset. I think that reset is a good thing because it's decentralized. and that means it comes from Yah, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing back to the Bible at the end there, JohnQ. And I think the next time I get JohnQ, like you and the posse back together, we're going to be. I want to talk more about the potential reset as we see things happening in front of us right now. You guys made this easy for me. This is clearly, I talk about a lot of different subjects on this channel. I have never talked about crypto on this channel, obviously, because it is something a little bit above my head. So I appreciate you, Jenna, that you came on the perfect night to ask the questions that I dared not ask. And you're great. And I hope you come back week after week. This is, as you guys see, episode 1 of our new proposed show, JC+Y, which is, you could say for Jesus Christ plus Yeshua, but for Jersey Coffee plus Yeshua, or when JohnQ, when you come on, it is Jersey Cigar plus Yeshua. I think this tomorrow night we're going to be talking in our Kingdom Verse episode about our TUC retreat, all the great time we had. I think JohnQ, I probably smoked more cigars last week than in the last 2 or 3 years period, which is only like I had like 5 over the retreat or something like that. But still, that was a lot. It was fun sitting down with all of you guys. Thank you, Zen, for coming in. And it was such a pleasure and an honor, Zen. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this was the first time ever in the history of the channel I got you on here. And hopefully, I think we make it like a once a year on your channel. And so maybe we could do a swap like every 6 months. I go on yours, you come on mine.
Yeah.
I love you, Zen. You're very dear to me, and many people on this channel, of course, too. We have a lot of the same viewers here. So that's gonna be it tonight. Jenna, thank you, Zen. Jenna, was there anything you wanted to throw in before we sign out? Give you
I'm going to save them for part 2. I got quite a few things. Yes, I've been taking notes.
All right. Well, this is, with Jen and I, this is going to be an anytime show. We have like 3 more episodes lined up right now. So hopefully you guys will tune in and support us. And we're going to be bringing on new guests. Sometimes we'll do panels like this. We'll be bringing on new guests every single time. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.